Hi, we've got Coach Doug Little with us, head coach at Potomac State. I'm going to talk a little recruiting tonight.
Marty, appreciate you having us. We're really looking forward to talking with you and hopefully help inform people.
Great. So tell us a little bit about the program here at Potomac State.
We're a Division I junior college. Junior college has kind of patented itself in the last 20 to 30 years like the NCAA. There's Division I, Division II, Division III junior colleges, and it's all based on certain criteria. We play at the Division I level, and we've been doing that for probably close to 20 years now.
Great. So tell me a little bit about your playing background and kind of your coaching spots and how you ended up here at Potomac State.
Good question. My playing days, I went to and played 4 years at Alderson Broaddus for Coach Funk there. Enjoyed my time there. And from there, I met a professor that was in med school there, taught in the med school at AB in the PA program actually. And he got me tuned into Eastern Kentucky University as a graduate assistant. So that's kind of where I first started my coaching career, was at Eastern Kentucky University, small Division I school in the High Valley Conference. And it was one of the best moves I ever made from an educational standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. And I went down there and spent a year, got my master's, got coaching experience, got to learn from a really good coach there, Coach Ward, Jim Ward. And he was a tremendous baseball coach. And I learned a lot of things from him, just observing him, really. And then from there, I became a graduate assistant and started my real coaching career at West Virginia Wesleyan as a graduate assistant for Coach Tenney there. He gave me an opportunity to do that. I spent 2 years there and really got a lot of good hands-on experience with him there. They had a JV team at that time, and he kind of turned that over to me, and I really enjoyed my time there, and I got to learn a lot about coaching, and I got to learn a lot about baseball and coaching and recruiting from him. And then I ended up here. I actually, by I don't want to say accident, but I guess by fate, when I was coaching at Wesleyan, we played a lot of the junior colleges with our JV team. And we played Potomac State, and the coach at that time at Potomac State had told me he was looking for an assistant coach. And this was during a rain delay, or this probably would have never happened. And I was looking for a coaching job coming out of grad school, and that's how I ended up here. I come here and coached for him for a year. And he retired after a year, and I was fortunate enough to be able to take over, and spent 2 years here as head coach after that first year as an assistant for him. And then I was hired in January of '95 to be the recruiting coordinator at Western University, and spent 5 years there. Enjoyed my time, loved it there at that high level. It was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of great players, got to meet a lot of contacts. And my wife and I had our first child, our 4th year at West Virginia, and I had to make a decision: do I want to continue to be at that level and not be home a whole lot and see my kids grow up? So we decided to come back to Potomac State. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a lot slower paced than at Division I level. So I've been back here this will be my 23rd year back since my time at West Virginia.
So a lot of questions I get from players and their parents are, hey, what events do I need to be at? What recruiting events? Do you have any tournaments or showcases or things like that, or must-sees for you guys as you guys hit the recruiting trail?
Yes, there is. Recently, the PBR in West Virginia and all the states have been a really good one for us. And a lot of other scouting services do a really good job. We'll go to their events, see kids. We also can get on their sites and get video of kids. And it really, those recruiting services have really made it a lot easier, I know, on our end, in our specific situation, to recruit kids, because we can't always get out and see kids, be everywhere. With budgets too, that limits what we can do. So yeah, the PBR, the perfect games. We also do a lot of prospect camps, like Western University's prospect camp. One of my assistants, he works several of the Division I camps. That's their prospect camps, and we're able to get a lot of kids from those. So I would say, the big things is get out and see, get the team showcase camps, I know that a lot of the Division Ones, they'll have a lot of kids there, and a lot of coaches come to that. The other one that's really been good for us through the years is the Ed Santa showcase that he has in Morgantown and the one in Michigan. He has a lot of good players at that. So any of those type of showcases, I think it's outstanding for kids to go to and get seen.
So I got a player, pretty good, maybe freshman, sophomore. They're interested in Potomac State. What's the process? What should they be doing first?
In my opinion, junior college does it a little bit differently than the four-year schools. You know, I see, particularly at the Division I level, I'll see a lot of kids committing their their sophomore year, their junior year, which is really early, and it seems like it's getting earlier that kids are committing. At our level, honestly, we kind of go 1 year at a time. You know, we're in a 2020 recruiting cycle right now, and we're focused on the 2020s. So I think junior colleges do it kind of the same way that we do. They go 1 year in advance. So we won't focus on the 2021s until probably August, which is a little bit behind what the four-year schools do. But I know on our end, that's kind of what we do and how we go about it.
So if I'm one of those guys, I'm entering my senior year and I have an interest here at Potomac State. Am I sending an email? Am I picking up the phone? What am I doing to let you know, hey, I'm interested in coming here?
Well, honestly, we get a lot of inquiries from kids sending us emails or making phone calls, or even nowadays the social media. Get lots of DMs on Twitter. I'm not a big social media person. I probably need to be more involved in that than I am. But I do dabble in Twitter a little bit, and I get a lot of kids DMing me, coaches DMing me about players that have an interest. So honestly, that avenue's probably been more the avenue that we got more names from the last year or so. But emails, I get emails, several emails a week with videos that kids send. So if a kid's interested in our place, we're interested in them if they're interested in us. So if a kid sends us an email or a text message or something on Twitter, we definitely check it out and take a look at it. And honestly, in our situation with junior college, we have turnover half of our team every year. So we're recruiting every position every year.
So talk to me a little bit about visits. So we communicate with each other. You invite me on campus. What does that look like? How's that day look?
Once a kid gets on campus, it's a 2 or 3 hour visit. Our campus is small, so it's 3 blocks long and 1 block wide, so it don't take a long time to see campus. But when we get the kids and their parents here, or whoever brings them, whoever they come with, we really sit down and take a look at it and talk about our place from 2 different perspectives. We talk about it from a baseball perspective and from an academic perspective, and break those 2 areas down from August of when they would start the school here till May or June when it's over with, and kind of go through the whole year timeline with them so they get a pretty good feel about how the academics work in the fall compared to when they work in the spring when our season's going on. And then talk about the baseball and how the baseball and the academics go hand in hand and how they work together, and the time management of it. So really, when a kid gets here on campus, the time they time they leave, it's a 2 to 3 hour time frame. And we honestly, we don't do a lot of overnight visits. It's kids that, our recruiting area is kind of within a 4 or 5 hour drive of our place. So most of our visits are obviously day visits, and kids come and go the same day.
So how does being a Division I JUCO, you guys can offer scholarships. How does that process work? How do you manage the team and try to spread scholarships and bring guys in? I mean, I know that's got to be tough.
It is, and I've been coaching. This will be my 30th year of coaching at the college level, and every year and every college coach that I talk to, it's the hardest part of recruiting is the scholarship money, because everybody wants a scholarship. I wanted a scholarship when I played, and that is obviously the hardest part of it. So it's really your scholarship limit's kind of like a salary cap. So you're trying to work it to where you got to do what's best for the team. And at our level in junior college, we're allowed the most scholarships of any level of college. a Division I junior college like us can offer 24 full scholarships. Now, we don't have anywhere near that, but we do have a good base of scholarship money here. And what we typically do with our scholarship money is we put half of it into our pitching staff and half of it into our position players. And what we try to do is we typically try to get one player at each position on scholarship. We try to give 2 scholarships to 2 catchers. If you don't have 2 good catchers, I don't care how good your pitching staff's going to be. If you don't have a good catcher,
from an old pitcher, I appreciate that.
It's going to be tough. So, as you know, catchers get dinged up, and if your first catcher gets hurt and you don't have a really good guy that can come in and replace him and not skip a beat, it's going to be a long year. So we spend 2 scholarships on our catchers, and then we try to get a guy at each position, and then we try to focus on about 6 or 7 arms and give them some type of scholarship, and go about it that. And for the last 23 years, it seemed to work for us. It's not an exact formula, a perfect formula, but we typically take our scholarships and spend half of them on our hitters and half of them on our pitchers.
So tell me a little bit about the recruiting rules. We spend a lot of time teaching, D1 time frames, D2 rules. How's that flexibility help you in recruiting at the JUCO level?
I think it helps us a lot because we have a lot more freedom in the recruiting process, because I know those levels that you just mentioned, sometimes they're hamstrung by how many times they make contact with the recruit. At our level, there's not really any rules or regulations on it. We can call a kid several times a week if we need to. It's unlimited. Obviously, we can email, those type things. So I think those restrictions that those four-year schools have to deal with, keeping track of all that stuff, it's just we don't have as intense of rules. So I think we can contact a kid a lot more and stay in touch with them until they sign. I know that there's four-year schools, once a kid signs, I think they can talk to them on a regular basis. But up until then, I think they're limited. With us, we're really not limited. We can be in touch with the young man anytime, basically, during the day, during the week. It's unlimited.
So how does it work academically? I know there's a lot of there's an NCAA floor. There's a lot of academic hurdles for guys with the sliding scales and all that. What kind of flexibility do you have there?
And that's a question we get a lot. And I spent a lot of time on a recruiting trip, probably over that 2 or 3 hours, probably 15 to 20 minutes talking about this. And it's good for kids to register at that NCAA Eligibility Center. It doesn't affect them in junior college, but yet it does. And here's how it does. A kid's either going to be a qualifier or a non-qualifier coming out of high school. So if we get a qualifier that comes to junior college their first year, they don't have to graduate from junior college to go play at a four-year school. They can play 1 year. Let's just say a young man's a qualifier, he comes in and has a really good year, and a Division I school sees him and likes him, and he's done well here academically that year that he's been here. He's able to go and still have 3 years of eligibility at the four-year school level. And we've had several players do that in years past. If a young man is a non-qualifier and they come to junior college, they got to stay at that junior college or graduate from a junior college before they can go back to a four-year school and play. So a non-qualifier would have to come in, spend 2 years, graduate with their AA degree, and then they're free, as long as they have a 2.5 or higher, to go play at Division I level or any four-year school level. So that's kind of the difference between a qualifier and a non-qualifier. Now in junior college, the eligibility is based on the time that they're at the junior college. So like for a freshman, they got to pass the fall semester 12 hours with a 1.75 in order to be eligible to play in the spring. As a sophomore, you got to pass 12 hours each semester with a 2.0 or higher. But know that to graduate from junior college, you got to have a 2.0 overall with approximately 60 credit hours, depending on the program, to get your AA degree. Now, I know Division I level, you have to have at least a 2.5 or higher GPA in order to go play. So obviously the higher the GPA coming out of junior college, the easier it is for a player to transfer to the Division I level.
So let's talk about that process. So if I'm a player and I'm coming here to Potomac State, I'm eventually going to be going on to another school. What's the timing of that, and how does that process work?
Well, junior college, you asked, is it easier? It is in some aspects. In other ways, it's tougher because you're really recruiting a player twice. you're recruiting them into your program to play for you, and then you recruit them out to a 4-year school. So it's double the recruiting. Typically, that process starts in the fall, as soon as we start school, especially with the sophomores. The freshmen, it's not as urgent for them because hopefully they've got 2 years. But with the sophomores, that process starts towards the end of their freshman year, and then a lot in the fall of their sophomore year. And with the recruiting calendar changes for the Division I, it makes it a lot more difficult because Division I's can only be out for a certain amount of time in the fall. And really, when that timetable's up for them, we're only halfway through our fall. So here's been my experience. We've got a really good history here and tradition of placing players. Most of our players, a high percentage, I would say well into the 90s, of 90% of our guys all go on to play at a 4-year school from here. And typically, we work with our players and try to figure out what we think level they can play at and really try to help them focus on that. And we also make sure that our guys are also picking a school where they're going to be an academic fit as well too.
That's a tough mix. Sometimes it's hard to find that right mix or have a guy understand what his mix is.
Absolutely, 100%. And sometimes their major that they're in limits them to what schools they can go to. We have, with us being a branch of WVU, we have engineering here. And when you take a look at engineering across the country, there's not a lot of schools that have engineering. So it really narrows it down a little bit for players that might be interested in engineering. So sometimes that comes into play. But typically in junior college, your pitchers and your guys that can really hit get sucked up pretty quick, especially if they have good grades. It's your average guys that you got to work a little bit harder to get them into places to look at. But there's a fit out there, as you know. There's a college out there. It's a fit for everybody. You just have to look and find it.
So let's talk a little bit about video in the recruiting process. What do you want to see? I'm a recruit. I'm interested in playing here. What kind of video do you want to see? Do you want to see skills videos, game footage, highlight videos? Is there a certain order? How's that work for you? As a coach, what do you want to see and when?
Video is a great instrument. As I alluded to earlier, with timetables and time restraints and budget, we can't get out and see everybody. So video is a great thing. And we get a lot of it sent to us via email or text or whatever it might be. But video is really good for hitters. We'll break it down to hitters and pitchers. For hitters, we like, especially if it's an infielder, see a little bit of skill work, see them fielding ground ball. You don't have to have a lot of them, but if you field some ground balls, you can kind of tell a little bit if a kid's got a feel for it. But really the hitting part. And we try to recruit guys that can hit, because as you know, hitting's very difficult, and you got to score runs in college baseball if you're going to win. So a lot of times we go out and recruit position players based on can they hit. And so hitting weighs a lot into us recruiting a player. So we look at video of hitting. If somebody, even if it's a homemade video to where a kid is getting soft toss or tee, we like the view of it straight. I like the view of it straight across so you can see the kid swing. If he's a right-handed hitter, feeding him or hitting video from the side. Left-hand hitter video from this side so you can see the swing and the path of the swing. I think that's one of the biggest things. If you can't get out and see a player play, is looking at the video of hitters from the side and looking at skill video as far as fielding ground balls. Running speed's hard to tell in a video. The pitchers, I love looking at pitchers' mechanics and letting them just see the delivery from straight on and from the side to see how the arm works, if did he have good arm action. And those things can be a good indicator. Is this kid we probably need to try to go see because he looks good on video. And I can't tell you how many times through the years that we've got guys on our current roster, guys that have played for us in the past, that we first found out about them by watching video, and they got our interest up, and we started doing our homework on them and go see them, and they end up being guys that end up playing for us.
So I get a lot of parents that ask about recruiting services. Do you guys subscribe to those kind of services? Use that as part of your recruiting model?
We don't actually. Now we get stuff from recruiting services, and we look at it and take a look at it. Honestly, the old emails, what we look for is when a player sends us a personalized email, Coach Little. That gets your interest a little bit more instead of just Dear Coach. But those recruiting services, they can tend, certain ones can tend to be expensive. And I know parents are trying to do the best thing for their son to get the information out about them, because all of us want what's best for our kids. So we do look at that information from the scouting services and look at particulars, bat throw, height, weight, if they have a running speed listed, any videos, those type things. So we do weigh in on that stuff because we can get information. You know, it's when you're recruiting, it's almost like you're a private investigator. You're investigating players to see what their abilities are, and if they're from a certain area where we know a coach or a scout will call coaches in that area and check on them. So the scouting services, we don't really subscribe to them. We just get information that's sent from a player or maybe a recruiting service, and once we get it, we do take a look at it, and then depending on the information they provide as to how much time we'll spend with it.
So tell me a little bit about what you're looking for in players, some of the measurables, like for maybe just go through like pitchers, middle infielders, outfielders, corner infielders. Do you have like a template or like some baselines that you look for?
In some areas, yes, we do. And you know, it seemed like there's a trickle-down effect in sports. What you see happen in Major League Baseball, the good and the bad, you're going to see it filtered down to college, to high school, to little league level. And really, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, when we recruit our pitchers here, one of the big criteria, two big criteria we look for is their height. We look at their height. It seems like guys that have a chance to go play at a high level, and scouts project guys to be a little bit more projectable if they're tall and lanky, those pitchers. So honestly, I'm sure, and I know we've missed on some really good pitchers, but when you have so much information coming into you and you don't have a lot of time to figure it out, or maybe not a lot of information available, we go off of height and weight a lot of times. And I know certain professional baseball teams have height requirements for pitchers right and left. And it's kind of trickled down to what we do at the college level. Have we had 5'7", 5'8", 5'9" pitchers here? Yeah, we have. And have they done really well? Yes. But it seems like as time goes on, the height requirements of our pitchers here have went up. I spend all my time with our pitchers, so I do like those big, tall pitchers. And velocity is a part of it, even though that's not the sole thing there. You know, there's lots of factors: pitchability, the off-speed pitches, can they throw strikes? The big thing is, can they throw strikes? So we look at that. With position players, honestly, we really focus, with the exception of a couple positions, we like to look at defense at shortstop and catching behind the plate. Can they catch or catch and throw? Can they handle the pitchers? Shortstop, do they have good range? Can they make plays? So we'll look at defense in those two primary positions, and a center fielder that can run and go get it. And honestly, the other guys, we look at guys that can hit, and we try to get our 9 best hitters in the lineup. We give up maybe hitting for defense in center, short, and behind the plate. But the other guys, we try to surround those guys with guys that can hit.
So tell me about where you see players. So I get a lot of questions like, hey, the coaches, they're going to come to my high school game and recruit me, or they're going to be going to travel ball. As your season progresses, where do you go see players?
During the season, it's really difficult because their games are going on the same time as ours is going, and I've got a son that's a senior this year in high school, and I've missed probably 3/4 of his games because he's playing the same time ours is going on. So it is difficult. But we try in the spring when our games are going on, we go out to see specific players that we may know about or heard about. We're not really necessarily going out just to go out and see players during the spring. We're going out to see specific guys. And then once our season's over with, then we start going to more of the showcases, the state tournaments, when high school tournaments are going on, and start getting out and seeing those games. So really, with us, we don't have the recruiting calendar that some of the four-year schools have, so we can go out and see kids a lot more than those schools can, which is an advantage for us to be able to see kids maybe a little bit more than what those schools can. But it's very difficult to see kids play during the season. And once our season's over with, then we really go see a specific kid or go where we're going to see a bunch of kids in one place and can evaluate several kids in one area.
So I'm a player, I'm interested in coming, I'm getting ready to send you an introductory email, tell you about myself. What kind of things are you looking for in that email? And can you talk specifically about, from a references standpoint, what guys you think are good references and would be the best for you to follow up with and call?
And we do get a lot of emails, and that's what we try to start deciphering everything. If they played for somebody that we know, we'll obviously call the coach and get the coach's opinion of them. I've been coaching so long now that I got a lot of former players now coaching, so I get a lot of calls from players about, hey coach, this kid plays on this team and he's pretty good, I like him, and we get a lot of kids that way. But when we get an email from a kid, we'll look and see what position they play, and if we have a specific need for that position, then we're really interested in the kid if he looks good on paper. So we definitely look at how they write the email, how much information they provide. And honestly, I think players are getting, because of scouting services and stuff, and kids are learning, the emails are starting to become, through the years, have become more informed, and we get better information in them. So that has helped as well, too.
So tell me about the telephone call. It's pretty intimidating for a player to reach out and call a coach for the first time. What are some what's some advice you have for players when they're making that phone call, and what are some of the questions that you're going to ask them when they reach out?
And that does happen. Obviously, when we recruit, we want to recruit the player, and the parents come with it as well. But does the kid speak for himself? We get phone calls from kids, and like you said, you got to give a kid credit. If they call a coach up, they call you up and talk to you, they've got some guts to do that, because I remember coming out in high school, I was shy and intimidated to talk to coaches, and I think for me, when a kid calls you, it shows they have a sincere interest in your program, and that they might have what it takes to come and play and be successful because they're not afraid to ask. And so yeah, we like to have a lot of our correspondence with the kids. And when kids come for a visit, we like to sit and listen to them talk. And sometimes, parents do all the talking. You don't get a chance to talk to the young man. And so you're going to get a chance for 2 or 3 hours to get to know them and their family. And you can tell when the kid's on a visit if you think they'd be a good fit for your program. And, we do as much homework on kids about them as they do on us. And it's kind of, kids need to investigate where they're going and find out all the information they can about the school that they're going to. And I know as coaches now that we do a lot of investigation, talking to maybe their high school coaches or coaches in the area that can speak on their behalf, to make sure that we're getting shot straight. Sometimes you get phone calls and emails from players and parents, and their ability level is not what it says it is. So it's always good to get a second opinion on those. And all the kids that we have, we always try to get to see them play and perform before we make a final decision on them.
So tell me a little bit about social media. As a kid's getting ready and the parents are helping, they're posting stuff on Instagram, recruiting stuff, and Twitter. As a coach, what are you looking to see them post? What are some good things, and then maybe some of the bad things, the bad side of social media that you've seen?
Like you said, it is a two-edged sword. There's good and bad to the social media. The good part of it is you can get in touch with kids pretty quickly. Just yesterday, I saw a young man on Twitter, and he was a pitcher, and he looked really good. And based on who was posting the stuff, it was a scouting service. This young man is this and this velocity-wise when he's fastball, and had probably a 2-minute video of him, and his mechanics looked good. He was throwing to a catcher. Looked like his fastball was moving. It looked like his curveball was decent. His arm action was good. And within 24 hours, I was able to get that young man's phone number and make contact with him to see if he'd have an interest. So that aspect has really made recruiting a lot easier, and it's amazing how fast you get information on kids now and how fast they get information on you. So that aspect of it's really good. And to be honest with you, when we recruit kids too, we take a look at a kid's social media and look and say, what are they putting on social media? What's out there? Because sometimes that throws up red flags, some of the stuff they put on there. And sometimes when red flags go up, coaches stay away from those type of kids, maybe barring problems before they happen. So social media is good and bad. Players really do need to do a good job. And we talked about our players about that in our current program, about how important social media is. And you got to be careful what you put out here, because people are doing their homework and they're going to check on you before they recruit you. If you're doing something that they don't think you should be doing, they may not recruit you.
So in the recruiting process, I'm a pretty good player, but I'm also one of a lot of good players. How in the process, what can I do to stand out, to get you to see me through all the avenues that are out there?
Probably staying in constant contact with us. That shows us that you have a sincere interest in our program, and obviously the player has done their homework, maybe through looking at our website, from the academic side, from the baseball side, thinking this place could be a good fit for him. So if they constantly stay in touch with us, that tells me the kid's interested. And honestly, if a kid's interested in us, we have an interest in them. And then it would be a matter of looking and trying to find out through video, going to see them, seeing them at a showcase, however the case might be, to check on their ability. Because ultimately, in the end, it comes down to, do they have the tools that we feel could help us win games? And a player that keeps in contact with us obviously has a chance to set themselves apart, because they're showing us they have an interest.
So I get probably 5 questions a week from players and parents. Hey, look at this email. Is this a personalized email? Is this coach recruiting me? And a lot of times I have to tell them, hey, you're a freshman or sophomore. They can't recruit you right now through an email or something like that. As a coach, can you pull back the veil a little bit? How am I going to know as a player that you're really interested in me and not just wanting me to come to a camp, or you're just sending stuff out to guys?
Sure. I can tell you from our perspective, if a player gets an email from me, I don't send many of those out. I'm not real technologically advanced. I'm old school. So we don't have all the bells and whistles. So if I get an email from a player and I follow up with them, it's coming a direct email from me. And I know our assistants, they do the same thing, because you get so many inquiries, and we try to filter through them and get back in contact with the players based on what they sent us, how they sent it. We get back with them. So I know in our particular case, we don't have any big recruiting tools to where we send out mass emails. So we do it kind of in an individual case. But I do know, a lot of bigger schools send out mass emails trying to get kids to their camps and stuff. We just don't have that capability. So I guess if we send an email to a player, you can count on ours being pretty personalized.
Right. So talk to me a little bit more about the advantages that you guys have as junior colleges in the recruiting process.
Here, I think, is the biggest one. And when players come, we talk a good bit about this with them and their parents. And we use this comparison. You've got four-year schools recruiting you, and you got junior colleges recruiting you. What is the advantage? Honestly, and of course I'm biased because we're trying to recruit kids to junior college, but when you sit down and you take a look at it, junior college is such a good avenue for a lot of different reasons. So I asked the player and their parents, say, like your high school team this year, you're coming up to your senior year. If you take a look at your starting lineup, are there more juniors and seniors in your starting lineup than freshmen and sophomores? And 90% of them say, yeah, there's more juniors and seniors. And they're right on that, because it's grades 9, 10, 11, 12. The juniors and seniors at the high school are going to the bulk of the playing just because they got experience under their belt. And that's the advantage. Like at a four-year college, there's going to be more juniors and seniors probably in the starting lineup than freshmen and sophomores just because of experience. So at junior college, that's the advantage that we've got. We don't have any juniors. We don't have any seniors. We've just got freshmen and sophomores. So kids your age and 1 year older. So the chance to compete for playing time is a lot greater at a junior college than it would be at a four-year school for an incoming freshman. And I think that's the biggest thing in a recruiting process for junior college and four-year school, is for kids to see that side of it It's tough competing against juniors and seniors, kids 3 and 4 years older than you. There's a big maturation difference there at the college level and the high school level. So I think that is the biggest advantage we have as a junior college. It gives kids a chance to develop a lot more. I can tell you in 23 years that I've been here, we've had 100 or more, I don't want to say hundreds, I don't know what the number is, but a lot of kids have come here and played in 23 years and moved on to play at a high level Division I, and none of them were ready for that coming out of high school. Probably, when players come out of high school and go to junior college, they're going there for maybe a couple of reasons. One, they got to get their grades up. Or two, maybe they have the grades, but their ability level is not ready for Division I. And they come and work hard on both and try to get better, their physical tools better to play in Division I. We've got some guys that are Division I students, but not Division I players, and vice versa. So junior college is such a great avenue for kids to, honestly, our recruiting spiel is, if a player don't get a good Division I scholarship offer coming out of high school, go to junior college for 2 years. You keep that door open. It gives you 2 more years to progress physically and in the classroom, and you still keep that door open after 2 years. If you go to, nothing against a Division II or Division III school. I played at a Division II school. Nothing against those levels, because there's great programs in Division II, Division III across the country. But if you go to those coming out of high school, I don't want to say use the word stuck, but you're there for 4 years, and I've seen players at those schools get better, and they go become draft picks that could be Division I guys if they would have went to a junior college and developed for a couple of more years.
So you sold me on the junior college. Why Potomac State?
Lots of reasons. We got a small campus, and this is the advantage that we got over 95% of the junior colleges in the country. We have a direct tie to a 4-year school. We're actually called Potomac State College of West Virginia University. So we're tied to a Division I university, a Big 12 school. And with our tie to the university, and now that WVU's in the Big 12, it's been amazing in the last 6 years how many doors have been opened to us with kids in Texas and Oklahoma inquiring about us because we've got a direct tie to a Big 12 school. And that has been huge for us. We had our first player from Texas in my time here in 23 years, about 5 years ago. And we're starting to get more and more inquiries from kids out that way because of WVU. But our biggest thing that we have going academically for us is we're a part of WVU. So taking classes here is identical to taking them in Morgantown on the main campus. The only difference is they got about 28,000 students. We got 1,600. So it's on a smaller scale. So we're taking, kids can come here, it's on a smaller scale. They're taking major university courses on a small campus. Our average classroom size is 22. So your professors are going to know who you are. They're a lot easier to approach in that small school setting than they would at a big school. Our cost for attending here with room, board, tuition fees, and books, the 5 parts of school, we're pretty good price, and we offer a great baseball program. We've got a lot of tools here. Our school funds us really well and supports us really well. There's not many junior colleges in this part of the country that has their own clubhouse right at their field. Right behind our building here, we just built a new hitting and pitching lab facility there where our players can go year-round now. We've got everything that's available for a player to develop from a baseball perspective, from an academic perspective. We've got tutors. So everything's in place here for a player to do well academically and athletically here because of our smallness and our resources that we have.
Coach Doug Little, head coach, Potomac State. Appreciate you spending some time with us tonight.
Appreciate your time. Thanks for having me.